Well, we have a couple guests from the Orange County Fire Authority today. One you certainly know, Steve Concialdi, the PIO and captain. Nice to have you here again.
Thank you, Ken.
And you brought along Division Chief Brice. I know you've been on before. It's nice to have you back. What is your, as far as your division that you look over, is it South Orange County here?
Yeah, it's the, I'll call it the southwest portion of Orange County. I serve 5 different cities, Laguna Woods being one of those, and Aliso Viejo, Laguna Hills, Lake Forest, and Laguna Niguel are the others.
Okay.
So kind of have a good regional approach to it.
Yeah, you certainly do. It's nice to have you on. The first thing we're going to talk about today is not a pleasant subject, and I'll tell you, it's, we're going to talk about the drownings that we've had in this county so far this year. And to exemplify this is that yesterday, Steve sent me a graphic, we're going to show that, sent me another one because it was updated, and then sent me a third one. I don't know if I had the third one on. This is a little hard to see because the numbers are so tiny, but we wanted to bring this up. But even in the course of yesterday, you had to update these statistics that you don't want to update.
Right. Well, we had an 18-month-old, he found his way into the backyard. Mm-hmm. Again, if you have grandkids, children, you know how quick those little guys could get out. And yeah. Mom was inside, and he made his way through a back sliding glass door, and they're attracted to the water. They want to play. They're used to playing with mom or dad or their brothers and sisters, and he doesn't know any better. And so he either fell in or he jumped in. Well, unfortunately, he doesn't know how to swim. Yeah. So mom realized he wasn't in the house, went directly to the pool, and she found him underwater. So she pulled him out. She pumped on his stomach a little bit. She attempted some sort of CPR, and he started vomiting and coughing up. But yeah, so when I sent the numbers, so we're right now at a total of 47 incidents in Orange County, and 18 of those have been fatal. So that's an awful lot of drowning calls. But as you could see, they not only affect the small children, but for the adults 50 years or older, out of those 18 fatal, 7 of those are adults that are basically swimming alone. That's why our tagline is prevent drowning, never swim alone. Yeah.
And Brian, this has to be one of the most heart-wrenching things, to have to go out on a call on really for any age.
Yeah, it's never easy, whether it's a senior or whether it's a child. It's very difficult to see that for something that we know is so preventable. As Steve just kind of equated that story. So if there was a barrier there, something that would stop the child from getting through that, that helps alone. But again, and also in the senior community that we have here in Laguna Woods, we're adults and we think we have that strength and we know how to swim and we're feeling confident. But it's striking how many of those are in spas and how many of those are in bathtubs as well. So it can occur anywhere, and it occurs silently. The movies and TV, sometimes you see the person thrashing about in the water and you think there's going to be the noise, there's going to be somebody screaming for that help. That's not always the case. It usually happens very silently and unknowing to everyone else that's around it, even when there's large gatherings. So someone has to be there paying attention to that water, and that's why we really emphasize the water watcher tags, where you're identifying someone. Yeah. Who is it? I've been to those calls where there's been 30, 40 people, and somebody thinks somebody else is watching that water. Right. Well, you have to dedicate that person to do that. Yeah, definitely. And I've mentioned this to Steve before. We have a little in-ground spa in our backyard, and when my daughter was like a year, we put up the fence around it. It's all around the coping and all. She's certainly at an age now that she can climb over it, but she can swim and all that, but still you have to watch her. But even for me, behind our spa, we have, I've put in all these little tropical plants and things like that. And I've even thought, going out there trimming those, I don't like to do that unless someone's home. Because what if this planter's about 2 feet above the rest of the pool, what if I simply trip, hit my head on the side and go in? It's just 2 feet of water, but if no one else is there, so I even think about that when I'm doing maintenance out there in the yard around it, to be very cautious and try not to do it when my wife isn't home, just in case.
And we've had kids jump in, we've had adults jump in, hit their heads. Yeah. We've had workers that were working around a pool or a spa, something happened and they fell in, so it does happen.
Let's turn to some good news when it comes to swimming here and around pools. This is a special program that is being done with the OC Fire Authority, the Fireman's Fund, and surprisingly, the Australian swim school. How did this all come together, especially the Australian swim school?
Right, the Australian swim school is in Santa Ana.
Okay.
So Orange County Fire.
I thought maybe they came up here.
Right, they reached out to some swim schools, and Fireman's Fund generously donated $10,000
That is great.
for education. And so this fund was targeted for Santa Ana, and so all of us offered over 300 adults and children free swim lessons for this summer.
That is great.
And they're still going on right now, and look how happy the kids are.
Yeah.
And again, we heard on the news just a couple days ago in Demi Moore's house.
Right.
She wasn't there, and there was I believe a 21-year-old that drowned. Well, if he possibly had swim lessons as a child, maybe he would have known how to swim, because they said that he didn't know how to swim, and something happened. Wow. So that's why if we teach children at a young age to swim, or to be able to get to the side, or be able to float, or be able to get their head above water and call for help, that might save some lives. But we're seeing a lot of these kids, and we've had too many of them. They're just, again, attracted to the water. They want water's playtime. They go there, and that's why the barriers, like you said.
And if I can just jump on what Steve is saying, swim lessons is one piece of it. The barriers are another piece, the watcher tags. So it's not one thing alone, and Steve knows as well that it has to be all of these things, and we have to raise that awareness and change that behavior of how we approach it. And that's why we're happy to partner with Fireman's Fund and the donations that they're giving us to take care of one component of it, and that's the swimming lessons.
Yeah.
So we strengthen that, and now we can hopefully get out to our senior community and let them know, hey, it can happen to you as well. It's not just the children, so make sure you have a partner with you, and dedicating those folks. And it's this combination approach, I think, that OCFA, our board of directors, is really focusing on across the county.
I think that's wonderful. And we even have it in this community here. Sometimes they offer free swim lessons or very low cost swim lessons. And I think it's great. And we certainly know that certain communities, certain demographics, they don't have the ability to go out like people who maybe live in more upscale areas where they can go to the community pools, they can pay for swim lessons. This is an opportunity for them to learn how to swim. And like you said, just look at the smiles.
Yeah, look,
you sent other pictures as well. I couldn't put them all up, but every single one of them, these kids are just having the time of their life.
Right.
And the key is there that they get the basics down, and along with all the other components that you said. One other question on that: are there, if somebody were to has a pool or puts in a pool, although with water the way it is, I don't know if they can, but is there a law saying you must have a barrier around it, or is it by city? I know some cities, pools can have to be set back a certain distance from a fence and things like that, but is there a law that you must have a fence around it?
No.
There's not.
There's a law, basically, you have to have the exterior fence from people, but the isolation fence, as Chief Brice talked about, there's no law about that. You have to have a warning device when you get your permit, when you open the door, but there's just one of those. It sounds an alarm. But Orange County Fire really encourages isolation fences between the home and that pool or spa, because that would save so many lives. And even though we've had 47 drowning calls, 18 of those have been fatal. Some of these other children are still not doing well.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do pass away later on the year or a couple years later, or they suffer some sort of neurological deficit that'll be life-lasting.
Yeah. All right. We're good with the swim program. Now, let's get to some fires here, some brush fires. One happened in Laguna Canyon, which we know about here on July 3rd. I remember we were away, but we get your tweets, and also we saw that. And tell me about this fire. Was this contained to about 150 acres?
No, this is about 15.
Oh, about 15.
Just
oh,
15
it's the other one
acres.
I'm thinking of. Yes. So how did this start? Do you know?
Yeah, I'll take care of that one for you.
Yeah.
So it happened, in the afternoon, and what had occurred is a downed power line had started.
Oh, okay.
So uniquely enough, when we talk about this fire, it's a fire I've been on multiple times. Laguna Beach fire has been there multiple times as well. So it started, and what I can say with the success of this came from the multiple jurisdictions coming together and working on this. So it happens right at the border of Laguna Beach. It's in the state responsibility area, so you have the state fire agency that has responsibility for that. So by all of us coming together, including the Sheriff's Department, Laguna Beach PD, the parks folks, we came together in this, what we call unified command, and we were able to contain it to those 15 acres and not let it get to the point to what was really threatening our homes. And as you can see from the picture there, because it's the state responsibility area and that threat to those homes, we ordered aircraft immediately. And that played a huge part in keeping that contained to those 15 acres. And that if you look at the pictures, and it's really tough to see, but that is almost a straight up and down cliff kind of area. And those crews had to make their way up there, pulling the hose in the heat, and did a remarkable job of putting that fire out. Yeah,
they certainly did. And then a few days later, I know you had one on July 4th, Laguna Hills fire. And where was that? This is the 241 fire. Where was Laguna Hills fire?
Laguna Hills was back up behind the Caminitos area. Kind of is actually right in the city of Irvine proper, but the reporting location was in Laguna Hills. Again, kept small to about 100 by 100 spot. But I think the key takeaway, it was started by fireworks. Fireworks that are illegal in Southern California, or South Orange County, I should say. So that was the cause of that. And also on the July 4th, we had a fire up in Chino Hills State Park right behind Yorba Linda. That was right behind the homes as well, and that occurred right after the fireworks by the local residents again. And we can't strengthen enough the message. Even though they say safe and sane, there is no such thing as a safe and sane.
Yeah, and then was the other one up near us, I forget what day it was, by Tijeras Creek, by the golf course. Off Antonio, I think, right?
Well, we had a series, and it was on 4th of July. There was four. There was a home in Santa Ana, a home in Stanton that were destroyed because of illegal fireworks, and then the Yorba Linda fire and the Laguna Hills or Irvine area, all within just a short amount of time, starting about 9:30 that evening.
And here's the one that was up on July 13th. I call it the 241 Santiago Road fire because it was right about there. How did this one start? Was this the one that was Caltrans?
Right. Well, they were doing some work.
I'm not blaming them.
Right, and they have to do that. That is vital. So they were working to reduce the vegetation next to the 241 and for access roads and everything. And unfortunately, since this is the 4th year of a pretty severe drought, the vegetation is so dry and moisture is so low in there. So they struck something hard. They did have a water truck with them falling by. But it just goes to show you when a fire does start how quickly it spreads. Even though their guys behind them were trying to extinguish the fire, it quickly grew. It jumped over Santiago Canyon and then headed straight for Irvine Lake. And we only had a light breeze that day. It was anywhere between 5 miles an hour. Had some gusts of up to 15, but it quickly ran towards Irvine Lake.
And here's a very good point when this fire happened. It was not a Santa Ana wind day. It was low breezes. You had a readied water supply, basically just yards away with Irvine Lake, and yet this grew to, was it 150, 200?
It ended in 214 acres. And it happened at 10:45 in the morning. It wasn't even that hot originally.
No, it wasn't. And I noticed here, it's hard to see in these pictures, these are CAL FIRE helicopters and planes.
Yes, Orange County Fire we had our helicopter up immediately. And then we always call in for more help. So we had up to 5 helicopters, and then 3 of the planes that were dropping retardant. So the helicopters dropped water, about 375 gallons, and then the planes could drop thousands of gallons of retardant.
Yeah, but that's just an example of, as far as having a brush fire, you had probably the best conditions you could ask for at that moment to put it out, and yet it still grew. And you guys did a great job, everyone did. But when we get these Santa Ana winds coming up, as hard as all you folks work, whether it's you guys, CAL FIRE, the Sheriff's Department, you all work together, there's only so much you can do. When the winds are gusting and it's going across tinder like this, you guys do all you can just to make sure it doesn't hit structures, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt, Steve, but and that's where I think the citizens have such a great help to us. And I see them routinely from Laguna Woods and the surrounding areas out on Laguna Canyon when we issue those red flags and those fire patrol pieces of that. Their early detection is really what's going to make the difference. So again, using this one with the Caltrans, Even with them right there, the water truck, it still spreads.
Yeah.
Imagine if there's no one there keeping an eye or something occurs in a more dangerous situation. So again, kudos goes out to all the community members that volunteer and help out with that. It's very appreciative from the fire side, and that's what's going to help us keep these small, is that early detection, early aggressive attack by the fire authority to maintain that safety.
Let's talk about something that's been in the news lately, and that's the drones, that people put up these drones. I guess they just want to get their own pictures of what's going on. And of course, it grounds your air support. The drones don't stay up that long, their batteries don't last long, but still, 10-minute difference can really play havoc, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what folks don't realize is that our aircraft and the safety of the aircraft comes first.
Right.
And so if we know that there's something flying around in the area, we'll have to divert our aircraft. So by doing so, that 5 to 10 to 15-minute delay in getting water dropped, either supporting the crews that are putting in the hand lines, or at the head of what we call the head of the fire, where it's progressing, to slow that progression, can make a huge difference in containing it to 15 acres or to thousands of acres. And as you saw kind of in the fire in Cajon Pass, how devastating and how quickly that can change and shape and take its pathway and devastate all those cars. Would there have been a different attack had the drones not been there? I can't answer that 100%, but we know that it's having an impact. So one of the things that we're doing from the board of directors side is looking at what legislation is out there, because there's nothing that's regulating it. So we have an item coming to our board tonight talking about the various state legislation items, federal legislation, looking at ways that we can support that to better regulate that and make it stiffer, harder penalties potentially if that's found to be, so that we can decrease that and tell the citizens, please don't fly your drones. We know you want your pictures. We love the pictures, but there's other ways to get those. Please don't fly your drones in our areas.
Are there fines right now for doing that? If you just something that says you impeded our folks from putting out this fire, just that alone, is there? So
what we'll do is we'll try to issue a temporary restraining order for flying in the areas. What those exact penalties are, I don't have those numbers for you. But again, what this legislation will do is help bolster that piece of it, reinforce it. And I think a big part of that too is the education. I don't think the folks that are using the drones are doing it maliciously. I don't think they understand the impact they have. So I think the legislation, the constant talking about it like this, only gets that awareness out to folks, that people will start to realize that. And again, going back to the citizens groups, when they see that, they might be able to tell that person, you know what, if you do that, you're going to hamper the ability to fight this fire, so please don't do that. A little peer pressure.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like the lasers with the planes.
Yeah.
They've really cracked down on those for a number of years now, because it affects the pilots, both in the helicopters and the planes. And so we're moving towards that, because we have to keep these drones down.
Yeah, and I think just in general, we're going to get more and more legislation about flying these drones even anywhere. You know, that's going to come forward, but as usual, the laws don't keep up with the tech. So hopefully we get there soon, and we'll see what this season brings. You know, we've gotten a decent amount of rain right now, which is good for July. I think we've hit a record here. Maybe we'll have a rainy August and September, and we'll see what happens, right? Because you know, we can only hope for the best.
It's still so dry out there.
Yes, I know.
Vegetation extremely dry.
Yeah, it is. And as you said, even when people go out like Caltrans, they're doing their job out there, but you know, they're using weed whackers and all kinds of stuff, which can cause a spark, and in this dry brush that they were prepared for it, but still it got out of hand. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you, Ken.
And you know, folks, again, stay water safe out there. And the statistics, are these listed on your new website?
They will be.
They will be. Okay, because I know you guys updated your website. Steve, Brian, good to see you. Brice, Brian. Again, your area that you're here?
I cover the city of Laguna Woods as their local fire chief. Then Laguna Hills, Laguna Niguel, Lake Forest, and Aliso Viejo, so kind of the southwest region there.
All right, good to see you. Folks, that's the end of the news today. Take care, we'll see you tomorrow.